A shoot has been growing for you in soil no one was permitted to inspect, and the ground is about to give. Not the version of the answer you would have ordered. Not the timing your nerves kept demanding. Not the polished arrival the louder voices have been training you to expect. A real one. The kind that has been forming under the seedbed in a darkness no human eye could measure. Lean closer to me right now. By the time these few minutes close, I'm going to walk you to the patch of ground where a small green blade of yours is preparing to break the soil. And I am going to set into your open hand one line I once spoke to a tired prophet writing from a jail cell, while the city outside his window was being torn apart. A line meant to silence. In this very hour, the small private fear you have been carrying that your particular harvest must have rotted somewhere down there in the dark. What is breaking through is what I started long before you noticed. I see you. The waiting in you has been longer than the waiting in most rooms you walk through. The body has been doing far more carrying than your face has shown. A mother kneels by a child's bed praying for a healing that has refused to read on any chart. A grown son in a parked car at the curb of his own driveway says, under his breath, the same request he prayed last Tuesday and last Easter and last winter. A young woman opens her bank app, closes it, opens it again, hoping the number will have shifted in the 7 seconds between glances. A widower waits on a phone call from a daughter who has not dialed in 11 months. One of you reading these words has been negotiating with a diagnosis for so many seasons that even the negotiation has gotten tired of itself. None of those quiet vigils is hidden from me. Each one is held in a soil deeper than the patience that has worn out at the surface. A neighbor stopped asking about the prayer because the prayer kept being the same one. Your sunrise conversation with me has gone shorter, not because the love has dropped, but because the same patient ask, day after day, started to seem like calling into a sky that absorbed the words and gave back nothing audible. Each shortened ask reached my ear in its full size. Each pause inside the asking was numbered. None of the silences you have been keeping have been silences on my side. They have been weeks. The seed was deepening its roots in soil you could not inspect. A tenderness rises in me about the long underground of your prayer, not impatience. The opposite. The very fact that you have kept watering a ground that has not yet shown a shoot is proof of an interior planter that has been collaborating with me longer than your senses have given credit for. Many around you have given up on patches far less compacted than yours. You have not. The not giving up is itself a quiet language. The not giving up has been the slow drilling of a root through a layer that needed exactly the kind of persistence you have offered. Breathe with me now. Just one round. Let the breath flow into the nose without effort. Then push the air out through softly parted lips, longer than it took to come in. Just once. Now another, now a third, an outflow even slower than the second. The longer exhale has its own quality of release. An inhale is reaching. A longer exhale is the body finally agreeing that the asking has been heard. Most of you have been performing only the inhale of your prayer. Gripping, asking, gripping again. And the forgotten exhale has been waiting to teach the rest of you that the seed has heard you, and that what is coming is doing what answers do in the dark. Let the next outflow run a little longer than the inflow before it. That stretched exhale is itself a prayer of trust, and a father reads it as clearly as the loudest formal one. There is a deeper layer beneath the long waiting than the obvious portion. A quiet shame has been riding alongside it, embarrassment about how often the same ask shows up, embarrassment about how worn the prayer has gotten in your own ear, embarrassment about needing the breakthrough as much as you do. in a culture that has trained believers to look like they need nothing visibly at all. A small, unspoken suspicion has been growing in the corner of your interior, that those whose prayers seem to surface faster must hold a kind of secret faith you were never issued. None of those subterranean weights showed up on any list of things you were warned to watch for. Each one settled into you in a different season. Each one has been weighed at my side with the rest. Not one is too small to set down where you sit now. Cup one hand softly over the back of the other and rest both palms on top of one knee. Light touch. The pressure of two cupped hands meeting is older than any teacher in your life ever explained. Hands stacked that way are the gesture a grandmother makes when she sits across from a grandchild whose worry she does not yet know how to address. Hands stacked that way say, I am here and I am holding what is in front of me. Let the touch stay one more breath. A pulse moves under the lower hand. That pulse has been beating the entire stretch your patience has been worn. Quietly, faithfully, without consulting any of your reasons. A maker still keeping that pulse going in your wrist is a maker still tending the ground under the patch you have been asking about for years. You did not assemble this fear of a rotted seed alone. The fear was handed to you, piece by piece, across years, no calendar logged. One afternoon, a Sunday school teacher informed your young self that prompt answers are the marker of strong faith, and that drag in the timeline says something unflattering about the asker. A season later, a parent muttered, "If you really believed, what you asked for would already be sitting on your table." And a small version of you wandered into the next decade, quietly auditing whether the believing was the kind that produced visible fruit. A year after that, an older friend assured you that breakthroughs land on the very morning of their arrival and never an hour earlier. And your nervous system began scanning each daybreak for a trumpet that was never built to sound that way. Then one night, a louder voice on a screen sold an immediate manifesting, and you walked off half hoping and half suspecting, and the suspicion eventually overtook the hope, and the hope grew small in a chest that was built for something larger. None of the chisel marks pressed into the place where breakthrough was supposed to live freely came out of my workshop. Yet the marks have been visible to me. The aches around them have been familiar to me. I have been the kind of father who lowers himself to ground level beside a worn patch of soil, not the kind who notes its barrenness from the road and walks on. Allow me to position myself between you and several voices that have been talking about me without authorization. One voice insisted that a true answer falls within some acceptable response window. A second voice claimed that the slowness of an outcome reads off the size of the asker's faith. A third muttered that drawn-out waiting is a coded refusal. Not one of those voices was mine. Not one of them ever was. A word from my direction does not embarrass the long waiter. A word from my direction lifts him. An asker who has remained at the same prayer through many seasons has done far more honest praying than a loud orator who swapped his prayers every Sunday morning. The length of any wait did not shrink the asking. The length of the wait deepened it. A picture of breakthrough sitting in your chest right now, instant, public, photographable, with a date stamp matching the date of the original asking, was drawn by hands that had no permission from me. Some of those hands belonged to teachers who meant well and were forwarding the only sketch they ever received. Others were held on purpose because a believer convinced that slow yields are a verdict is a believer easier to keep paying louder voices for the secret of speed. Whichever the origin, the falsified portrait got pushed in front of you, and the portrait has been disqualifying you from soil that has been busy for years. Lay the portrait face down on the grass for a few minutes. Let it lean against a tree behind you while I describe what a real breakthrough looks like inside the country, where I am the one running the seasons. A surfacing in my workshop is not a sudden production.